to be a change.
Hi, I'm Kim Riley. I'm a reporter with the BBC Look East, and actually we've been covering the issue of slavery all this week, looking at some of the white people who helped to abolish slavery and the slave trade from England across the Atlantic, and also looking at some of the black heroes of the thing, like Equiano, for instance, and his achievements, his life story, which opened up to people so much about the realities of the day-to-day life of a slave and how atrociously they were treated and how subhuman they were regarded by some people. They didn't have any feelings. I went to the record office in Norwich earlier this week, and there was a very chilling document from one of the estates in Barbados, one of the plantations, and it was very notable that they had amongst the stock on this estate were the Negro men, the Negro women and Negro children, and beneath them were the oxen and the other animals. And that was a very good indication of just how people didn't think of them as human beings. They were just stock to be used and to give them profits. We've also covered some of the estates back here in England that have built up basically on the backs of the slave trade. So it's a great honour to be at Luton today to see some of the colourful costumes and the musicians and the marchers who are going to take part in this special parade, and not just looking back to the past, not just dwelling on the future, but dwelling on the present, but looking very much to the future and taking pride in what the black African and Caribbean societies have achieved, given all those things that they've been through. So it's been a great privilege for me to take part in a live broadcast tonight and just show some of the people who are taking part in this parade on Sunday.
In marking the bicentenary of the abolition of the slave trade, I have chosen today to speak to you about Africa's positive contribution to the West, but also to warn how the painful history of slavery and colonization still affects our society today, and how even when guided by the best intentions, the old mentalities of the relationship between master and enslaved, between the West and Africa, black and white people still persist. I believe only by being honest about Africa and the West's difficult history can we be constructive and forward-looking about the future. Africa, as you know, is the so-called cradle of civilization, the place where humankind itself is said to have originated. The bones of some of the earliest hominids have been excavated on the African continent. Some scientists go as far as to argue that all humankind descended from one excavated remains of a hominid known as Eve. In this sense, I would suggest that Africa really is the mother of all humankind, those who have sinned and those who've been sinned against. She is Mother Africa to the rest of the world. And I believe, as we celebrated Mother's Day last Sunday, it is only right that today we look at Africa's first contribution to the West, because in itself it may be humankind. It may be humankind. Africa is also the birthplace of the Western eye and its desire for symmetry and form, whether in architecture, design, philosophy, mathematics, down to the basics of agriculture and the rotation and irrigation of crops. 5,000 years ago, the chain of independent city-states lining the River Nile united to form one long, thin country ruled by a king, or to Africans, a pharaoh. Almost instantly, a highly distinctive culture developed. For almost 30 centuries, Egypt remained the foremost nation in the African and Mediterranean worlds. The unique culture was quickly buried beneath successive layers of Greek, Roman, and Arabic tradition. Egypt's magnificent stone buildings, her pyramids and her temples have inspired innumerable artists, writers, poets, and architects from the Roman period to this present day. The pyramid form, in particular, still plays an important role in modern architecture and can be seen rising above cemeteries and innumerable shopping centers. It's also at the new entrance to the Louvre Museum in Paris. The original pyramids serve as a testament to the mathematical genius of the Egyptians, a skill that stimulated Greek mathematicians, including Pythagoras, to perfect their work. Preserved in the writings and coded in their artwork, the Egyptians asked and answered the questions that all societies still ask. What happens after death? How was the world created? Where does the sun go at night? Lacking any real scientific understanding, the Egyptians answered their own questions with a series of myths and legends designed to explain the otherwise inexplicable. Some of these myths passed from Egypt to Rome and have a direct effect on the development of modern religious belief. I mention Egypt because we forget sometimes that Egypt is part of Africa. The Egyptians were renowned throughout the Mediterranean world for their medical skills that were eventually passed on to the Greeks